everyone, welcome back to Geeks Not Nerds Live. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and sitting behind me, Eric Holden.
I'm Luke Cage.
The rest of our panel this evening consists of Steve Baxey.
He's Luke Cage.
And the 9-foot everything, Curious Low.
He's Luke Cage. I guess that's the thing we're doing today.
And she's 9 feet tall, we decided before the show. Dan Torrey is also hypothetically with us. He's having a difficult time getting into the call for some reason, but hopefully he'll be able to be in here in a little bit. You know, this used to happen a lot on Primetime Crisis, where for some reason Dan couldn't get into the call, and once we went live, then he was able to get in. So maybe something about it being live will allow Dan Torrey to be in. Anyway, it's really good to be here, and thank you guys, as always, for helping me out. Tonight, we are going to talk about a topic that Joel Davis came up with, and Joel asked us to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of using multiple mediums like books, games, movies, TV, etc., to build a shared universe a la Marvel and Star Wars, and he says mostly Star Wars. And I'm going to expand this to just singular continuities in general. Is it a good idea or a bad idea to have peripheral things that are in other media that are considered canonical, or should everything be in live action and or in animation or comics, whatever it is, or is predominantly, and what are the pros and cons to each? That is the topic this evening. We're going to talk about that for you here in just a minute. We will chat with our live viewers if you're watching with us live throughout the show, and at the end of the show, we'll have a 15-minute open forum where you can have us talk about anything you would like us to. We will also, a little bit later in the show, do rant and geekiest thing we did this week. So half an hour on the clock now, and let's go ahead and get straight into it. And I would like to hear first from Eric Holden. Eric, is this a thing that ever bugs you, where there's something that you're used to experiencing in one medium, but then something is considered canonical in another medium?
Once.
Only once?
Only once.
Okay.
Has it ever bothered me? Greg Rucka has a series called Queen and Country. Phenomenal series. It's a real hardcore, like, spy fiction kind of a thing. Like a real, like, paperwork kind of spy fiction. If you try to read that series in comics, you're going to get to an issue where a bunch of stuff has happened and you don't know what happened and why is everyone in these different places. That's because there's a novel that takes place between two issues. So I've never finished Queen and Country because I have to read between two issues, and then if you want to get the ending of the series, you have to go read 2 more novels after you finish reading the issues. And that seems a little self-indulgent because it's integral. Something like Star Wars it's never integral. It's always added bonus stuff. Like
it shouldn't be integral.
Or it recontextualizes something and like adds to it. But you didn't have to read, because I'm just going to keep talking about Greg Rucka. You didn't have to read Greg Rucka's Before the Awakening novel, Force Awakens. So I like it when it works like that, but I also wish there was in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, any of those comics mattered, like at all, ever. Is why even make them? So I want them to matter, but not matter too much that they're required for the main line. That's my thoughts.
What do you think, Steve? Generally speaking, has this tended for you to be a good thing or a bad thing?
So I have a very unhealthy habit of, if I want to get into something, I must start at the very beginning and consume all of it. So in some
That's why I'm not a
sense,
Star Trek fan.
for reasonable people.
Ladies and gentlemen, clap for the new person. It's Dan.
Hey.
We haven't had Dan on this program in a long time.
I have
Dan,
to download a new browser, but I'm here.
Good. I'm glad to see you. Hey, Dan, I could recap what we've said so far, but I'm not going to. So just catch up on your own time.
It's Steve's turn to talk. You be quiet, Dan.
That's right. He has the talking pillow. Go ahead, Steve.
For reasonable people, I think this stuff would be annoying. But like part of what I enjoy about Star Wars pre the new universe is I could see one thing in a movie or a comic, and then I know I have like 8 other things I could look into and understand more about it. It's never been a nuisance to me where I had to like sit down and do a ton of research before I get into a thing. I would kind of enjoy that. But at the same time, I understand like what Eric's talking about there, where like sometimes it's self-indulgent and it seems like they're not utilizing the medium to its fullest extent when they have to like suddenly break format to tell you things that are important within the medium you're already reading, which gets really irritating. But I've never actually like had that same experience. I just know that it happens. So multimedia canon's never really been a problem for me. The only times that it really bothers me is that when one, the multimedia people are not talking to each other, and two, when they aren't talking to each other and it doesn't matter because they might as well be different canons. Case in point, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, that's a really good point. For me, it tends to weirdly, and like, I didn't formulate this on my own. I'm just looking at my own, like, patterns of when I've been okay with this and when I haven't, and it tends for me, for whatever reason, to be if there's a whole lot of it in one media, I tend to not want it to ever go to any other medium, and if there's not very much, it's more fun to expound upon it. So, like, as much as there were probably tons of contradictory things and it doesn't all match up with Star Wars Expanded Universe, I understand why we want a lot of that to be canon, because there's only 6 movies and it's a big, expansive world. Star Trek, I want it all to be on screen. There's 700 episodes. There's 12 movies, 13 movies. I don't really want any of the extra stuff to necessarily be canon, except then you'll read something that is great and you'll wish it was canon, but then you just want it to be adapted. So it tends to kind of just depend, like, and then there are exceptions to that even. Like, I kind of like that Buffy kept going in comic form, even though there's so much of it. Well, that's a case where you aren't going to ever get any more of it on screen, so that's the only way. So you have to kind of settle for another medium.
But how do you feel about, say, the of Star Trek? If those comics were like canon and informed the films, would you like that because it's just those couple of films?
Yeah, that's a place where it becomes an exception. It goes the other direction where there's not very much of it, and also because those comics, I mean, they're with the first 2 movies, I like Beyond a lot. They're never any worse than those movies, but also because they inform them and fix some things. And I've talked about this before, but especially the fact that in the comics they come right out and say it is definitely the Abrams verse, another universe, as well as going back in time. I need that because things, especially like Khan in Darkness, do not make sense until you tell me that. So for me, it's somewhat of a case by case basis, but that tends to be the big rule of thumb for me, is if there's a little bit, I want more, and it's okay to go to other mediums. If there's a lot, keep it in the medium it's in. Also, sometimes you'll do like a really cartoony thing in animation or something, and it'll just go too far.
Taking advantage of the medium it's in, but not thinking about how that would affect other mediums that are telling,
like Star Trek the animated series, or a really, really crappy Xena and Hercules animated movie that came out back in the late 90s. Like, there's things like that where you're just like, that can't be canon. Please don't say that's canon. And then it's less about the medium and more just, well, that was stupid, and when we do really stupid things in live action, we're stuck with them. But it's easier to decanonize things like that after the fact. What do you think, Lo?
I think you guys have already brought up a lot of the points I wanted to bring up. I will say that I've definitely not consumed as much cross-media like canons as you guys have. I think for me, it's probably just Star Wars and Marvel, I guess. But for me, like the fact that there's like TV shows and movies is not that big of a deal. And I don't think I've read any of the comics that are strictly informing the movies. Star Wars is the one that
You don't have to.
I know. And Star Wars is the only one I've really done multiple different.
Yeah, the ones that tie into the movies.
Oh yeah, no, those are pointless. I'm sorry, I was reading comments and I wasn't following the conversation closely enough.
I knew what you were saying. Star Wars is the only one that I've really done like all the different mediums for, but I don't know. I feel, again, I haven't consumed a ton of it, so I feel like I maybe don't have the best opinion or the most informed opinion, but it doesn't bother me at all. Like, if there's stuff that, and again, because it's Star Wars, they're doing a good job of not making things like, oh, if you haven't read this comic, you're not going to understand the new movie. But I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I don't really feel like it adds a ton. I think a lot of people would say that some of the Star Wars comics and books and all that have added like cool, interesting things. But for the most part, I feel like none of it matters until you've seen the movie anyway. Like for me, at least, Star Wars is like on its own pedestal, and then there's like other stuff just because, and it never really feels that important to me. So I feel like
I think that is changing to a degree.
Yeah.
Man, I need, and Dan and I just reviewed this. This is going to go up in the next couple days. I need the Darth Vader comics to be canon.
Yeah, they're great.
Because it just informs his character way too much. It does feel superfluous. Like in that it's a character piece, and we're dealing really hard with how much of his humanity is still there. Also, it develops his hatred for the Emperor in such a way where when he finally kills the Emperor, it's part of a big vendetta, and it feels more poignant if you know about all that. So they are adding things that I kind of, at this point, feel like I need.
I like it when we
mention
those things. Like, there's a Poe Dameron comic going on right now. I'm not reading it. I'm not reading any of the Star Wars comics except in trade. I'm not against Poe Dameron, but there's a Poe Dameron comic going on right now, so I don't know if there's anything in there. But
it's a bunch of blank pages.
Yeah, exactly. For $3.99. But it would be nice if like there were lines of dialogue in the films that referenced, like, it would be nice if anyone ever mentioned Han Solo's wife. Ex-wife.
But it is cool that Rogue One goes to Clone Wars.
Yeah, no, that's super cool.
Somebody in the comments here I didn't notice it, but somebody in the comments mentioned that there's at least one reference to Rebels and to Hera specifically.
Yeah,
that's cool.
She's name dropped, and Chopper's supposed to be in there somewhere. They're droid.
There's multiple ships. There's multiple ships as well that you can see in the background of Rogue One that have rebels. They're like rebel ships and stuff.
See, I like stuff like that, and I don't think we do that stuff enough.
Yeah, going the other way.
Yeah, where the main thing acknowledges that the other things exist.
Well, and at the risk of going to this, because we like too often, can I bring up Marvel Cinematic real fast just to say that sometimes the TV shows feel like they might as well have been animated? Because very often when we do things in other media, we never call back to them in the other thing. And like, I like that so far all the stuff that is mostly considered maybe entirely considered canonical with Marvel Cinematic is live action. And so much of it doesn't matter to going the other way, to the point where it might as well have been animated or in a comic book or a video game.
I don't know what the status of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in the films.
They never
because I know they don't care what the show's doing.
At this point, there are more live action hours that are never mentioned than are mentioned, if you count how many TV shows we have as opposed to films.
Well, they
actually Netflix shows.
They actually seemed to be referencing the movies in the first season or two, and then they just like totally abandon it, and they're on their own.
They'll reference the movie sometimes, but they don't.
Well, that's what I mean.
Go the other way.
Garbage, guys.
Oh yeah. What?
Yeah.
I was just joking. We got to pick up Thor's garbage, guys. That's the one reference I remember from the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I thought was hysterical.
Yeah, they'll do
all they connected it to.
Yeah, they'll do really shallow surface tie-ins to the movie sometimes.
Was it season 1 or season 2? It was like near the end of, I think it might have been season 2. I can't remember. Somebody will tell us in the comments. They had the whole fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was like a big status quo changer.
Right.
Is it season 1?
Right. But they had to.
I know.
Otherwise, they can't pretend like it's in the same universe.
I think they did a really good job with that, and then after that, the show just kind of petered out and didn't care anymore. I feel like that was
I read the ending of Age of Ultron as the return of S.H.I.E.L.D. And they have that whole conversation about this is what S.H.I.E.L.D.'s supposed to be, and then I found out that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s not back in the TV shows, so I have no idea if S.H.I.E.L.D. exists or not in the movies.
Yeah.
What I really want, this is all on the TV show side, and they can do it, is I really want to find out that Black Mariah is the woman in Civil War, and that she's just making Tony Stark feel bad, and it's all a master manipulation plan.
Yeah, if you've never noticed it, that's the same actress. That's Alfred Woodard. She's, as far as I know, the only person that has played 2 different roles between Marvel things, and 6 months of each other. It's absolutely insane.
I want that to be the same character.
There's
I
a
want
couple
that to be
people.
her just
There's a cop in Avengers that Captain America talks to, and that actor is actually the guy in that Peggy Carter has a relationship with in her show.
Oh,
I feel like Agent Carter
and that's
is
funny
like
'cause
his
that's
own
between
weird
two TV
thing
shows.
though, because it's in a different time period, so it like doesn't matter as much.
yeah, it's not as noticeable, or it's
Yeah.
not as glaring.
Yeah.
Point, because like Mariah apparently like 3 years before Civil War, or this actress that looks suspiciously exactly like her is really angry with Tony Stark, and then all of a sudden, she shows up, or she's in Harlem. Jacob Carlson wants us to bring up the Arkham universe, and that's an interesting one because there is a lot of extra supposedly canon peripheral stuff with comics, especially, and I think the Arkham, Suicide Squad movie is supposed to be canonical with it, and it doesn't feel like it's really that really fits, but okay. But anyway, a lot of those that's one of those things where a lot of those comics are totally superfluous. You don't really necessarily need them, so it's really easy to either get into all of it and consider it, just not even bother with it at all. Steve, have you read any of those?
I've read a few of them. What's annoying about those is clearly the people writing those comics are not the ones working on the games, because there's stuff towards the end of Arkham Knight and DLC content and stuff that directly contradicts the Arkham Knight comics. And then there's stuff in the Arkham City comics that exist to try and explain things that we like see throughout Arkham City that never get mentioned when you meet those characters again in Arkham Knight. So like the comics are there and there are a canon, but it's really, really messy. It's not like Injustice, where Injustice is just that one game and the comics flesh it out to a ridiculous degree.
Yeah, that's a really interesting case, right? Where the story is in comics. That's a thing where you really want those.
The comics are so good. I really want
so good
animated movies.
Yeah, that's an unusual case, right? Where that's where the story is. The story is in the peripheral media, but that's appropriate because it's a fighting game, and who cares about the story in a fighting game?
Yeah, I agree. I just hope that the story for the second game doesn't muck with the story in the comics for the first game.
Me too, because that's where the meat is.
Yep.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes left on this topic. Any other franchises anybody want to bring up, or anything just kind of more broad stroking?
Most of my
Dan's
experience with
enjoying
is with video game things. Like I've read the Mass Effect comics. I've read a couple of the Elder Scrolls novels they put out. I have read other video game things in general. The Halo novels I used to be big into when I was
Halo is a great example of this.
Yeah. And the thing that kind of bothers me about the multiple medium thing is that material and other mediums are canon until the people that do the main medium decide it's not, and they can rewrite it whenever they want to. I don't know if you guys have talked about this already because I wasn't here at the beginning. But one of the things that Halo popped in my mind because there's a novel called The Fall of Reach, which is really good, and then they made a game out of that's kind of supposed to be that story, but it's way less interesting. So like I like the gameplay is really great, but the story in that video game I didn't like as much as what was done in the novel. So sometimes it just bothers me where like I think I know like the cool ins and outs of a universe. I spend the time like researching and stuff because I love doing that kind of stuff. I love these expansive universes I can dive into and research things. And I don't know, like I like history and like the history of like the fictional universes too that I enjoy. It interests me as well. So like if I bother to take the time to do those things and then they like rewrite it and it's not as interesting, I'm just like, well that's unfortunate. I mean, not that like I'm demoralized or anything, but I don't know. It's just kind of annoys me,
Well, like,
it's interesting you say
we have this weird need to like set up continuity tiers where like in certain mediums, this is the main canon, this is close to perfect canon, this is not quite canon, this is take it or leave it kind of material.
Well, and Star Wars used to have that.
Once we get to that, I'm out.
Star Wars used to have that literally. They
had like a letter grade, like this is S canon, this is A canon, stuff like that.
Yeah, there was G canon, which is anything George Lucas worked on, that's the top canon. Then there's T canon, which is anything that's ever been on TV. And then there's another canon, which is all the books and stuff. And then there's not canon.
Yep.
There was a hierarchy to Star Wars. But it's interesting that they were rewriting Halo because I believe they actually released a rewritten Fall of Reach that matches up better with that game.
They did.
Oh, wow.
They did that a couple of times in Halo, where like they would do both in the comics, where they would rewrite the stories to match the game, and then they would rewrite novels to match the games. And then they did this weird thing when Halo Reach came out, where there was a solicited miniseries that was already like halfway written before the game came out, but the game was so different that they actually scrapped the half-written series and published it.
I didn't know about that. That's amazing. That's
weird. I
can't care enough to go back and fix it.
Because it's completely gone and no one's going to read it.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say too, I've never seen this expanded like multiple medium universe thing done flawlessly. I've always there's always continuity contradictions and stuff. So I'm kind of just used to it at this point. Like I'd rather them do it because universes that I'm interested in, I do like to read more. The only one that I've seen things do it well is when it's like a group or one creator that's involved with everything. Like the Mass Effect comics are really great because they get the lead writer of those games to write all of them, or at least the ones I've read anyway that Dark Horse has put out. I haven't read more of the recent stuff, but like the initial, I think 8 miniseries they did are all written by Mark Walters, who wrote those games. So of course it's all, the continuity lines up because it's the same dude that's the brainchild of everything. When you get too many hands in the basket, I think that's when it becomes a problem because
it's kind of interesting that when there's multiple teams working on things, it's real easy to jump to there's a continuity error, nobody's paying attention. But singular writers do this all the time. Kind of famously, George R. Martin described a character with green eyes and then with blue eyes, and then on it he describes them as having blue eyes. George R. Martin's really open that he can't remember anything and goes to fan forums as what does this landscape look like? I don't remember.
That's amazing.
So it's human frailty, right?
Yeah,
it's just human error. Even when it's one person doing everything, they can still make mistakes.
Well, especially when there's a ton of it.
Yeah.
When it just goes on forever. One thing, I don't tend to like a lot of Star Trek novels. There's some that are pretty great, but for the most part, it's just not even worth getting into. I'm curious to know how you guys feel about non-canonical things, if you ever care. If it's a thing you like so much that you look at even if it doesn't. Do you just want a good story, or must it count? Because what I like about some of the Star Trek novels is we know what the main canon is, right? So everything that's on screen is canonical. So they won't reference any other random peripheral material unless it's an ongoing series also. So it will have its own canon, but everything you've ever seen on screen also counts as canon. I kind of like that because it's sort of like looking at different, canons, but then sometimes it's also hard to separate it because if I really like it, I'll be invested. And then it's difficult not in my mind to accidentally count.
Not knowing Star Trek, but knowing Peter
I'm sure
David.
there's all kinds of other things that do that too.
But knowing Peter David, all of Peter David's books are canonical?
Yes.
Even the ones aren't New Frontier, he will reference his other materials.
He's Frank Miller.
Yeah.
It's like Batman. It's like Frank Miller's Batman. It's all supposed to count.
Yeah. But that's a thing, that's more, if it's not canon, that's more likely to get me in if it's a writer I like, and if there's a lot of it by them, and that all matters. If one writer, I'm more interested in that than I am
one and done.
Yeah, and it becomes creators and premise, because we do this all the time with comics. We all like Elseworlds, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The only thing I've really experienced in that regard outside of comics is the Star Wars stuff where things are at one time in canon and then are removed. That's the only time I've really loved something that isn't in canon and I just kind of think it is. I think it was Clone Wars. I haven't watched these episodes yet, but I heard that they de facto decanonicized the Karen Trevis Republic Commando novels, and I loved those novels when I was a kid because I loved the video game. And there's I think there's a trilogy of them, and they're really fantastic books.
There's 5 of them.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe they came out with more since I stopped reading them. But I remember there being 3 of them when I was reading them as a kid. And yeah, those books are fantastic. And it's just sort of Star Wars is the main universe that I was always invested in that is in other mediums and things. And that's the one where they just had everything until it wasn't, like some of the other universes I've discussed before. I've never really had that issue. with the stuff I've been into, I suppose.
And Star Wars, and I understand, like, from the filmmaking perspective, it's better for them to just start with a clean slate. But there's just so much stuff in Star Wars canon that I really miss. Like, I am incapable of watching a Star Wars movie not thinking about, like, the 7 styles of saber combat, because those are really important in the novels and expanded universe of how characters interact and stuff.
I think those are still canon because all of that peripheral stuff, I think, is still technically canon.
Is it?
Yeah, that kind of stuff, like planets and races ever on screen but were created are still technically canon. Like, I think the lightsaber styles are still canon.
But, like, there's stuff where the lightsaber styles are created by very specific characters and stuff that I don't know if are canon anymore.
That's
so now they're just,
probably
like, ancient styles.
Like Vapad, like Mace Windu style and stuff.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's
I think that's all still canon. Jade's the big loss to the Star Wars canon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jade's the best. Mary Jane with a
Folks,
light. That's awesome.
Folks, unfortunately, we're going to need to move on to our next segment. So does anybody want to throw out any final thoughts before we move on?
Let's switch over.
This is Dan and I will be. I'll do a quick plug for this. Dan and I have a video coming out tomorrow about all of the news we got a couple days ago about the Nintendo Switch. Dan and I talked about that for about an hour and a half. So look forward to that tomorrow. We get pro about it and argue a little bit about what we think the future of Nintendo is going to be. Let's go ahead now and move on to rants and see if anybody is excited to complain about anything. And Dan Torrey, do you have a rant for us this evening, sir?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I just came up with this on the fly because I don't really have much to be angry about these days. But one of the things that I was really following closely was one, the Spider-Man PS4 game and the rumored remake of the first Knights of the Old Republic game that BioWare was said to be developing. And the reason that I'm going to rant about this is because this is becoming a problem where it's stopping games from being made that I really want to play. The reason why the Knights of the Old Republic remake is in development hell right now is because Microsoft is fighting really hard for that to be a console exclusive, and there's kind of a bidding war between them and Sony to have that as a console exclusive, because Microsoft, it makes sense for them to be an exclusive to that console because that was like an exclusive to the original Xbox. It was a big selling point for that system when it came out, so they want to connect it to their heritage as a brand and stuff. I really want to play that game.
Microsoft didn't care when it came to Final Fantasy Metal Gear Solid.
No, they didn't care, but they really they want to get some more console.
Look, this is Dan's rant, okay?
I'm just saying, have some consistency.
Especially,
like, oh no, that was our exclusive. Then you can't go after other people's exclusives.
Well, that was originally Nintendo's exclusive anyway. But I digress. So the reason they're going after that so aggressively too is because Scalebound just got canceled, and that game seems to have Microsoft pulled the publishing and funding plug on that because they couldn't get it to run well on the Xbox One because it was a console exclusive and things like that. So third-party console exclusives are really starting to bother me because I really want that Knights of the Republic game, and I really want to play that Spider-Man game, and I can't play either of them because I have an Xbox. And
well, that was your first mistake.
Yeah, seriously, just quit being so cheap.
Xbox is better.
Get the better system.
We'll discuss it some other time.
No, there's no discussion to be had. I'm right. You're wrong. The end.
No, you're wrong. So anyway,
I've never played an Xbox One. I know nothing about it whatsoever. I'm just kidding.
It's watching you always.
I like my PS4.
I don't have my Kinect plugged in. I just anyway. I would like to see the studios that the manufacturers own, of course, they can make like whatever exclusive they want, but like this bidding war between for console exclusive and stuff, I don't know, it just alienates people. Like, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. It really just disappoints me that I can't play that game. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. I really want to play both of those games, and we can't.
Is it just Spider-Man, or is it all the Marvel characters? Because Spider-Man makes sense because Spider-Man's kind of owned by Sony.
We don't know. They haven't made anything else.
It's just Spider-Man because they did announce that that Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale game is going to be on everything. So it's just Spider-Man. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't affect me because I bought the good system, but it's good to know.
You're wrong, sir.
And he knows
is better.
Yeah, but Eric knows I will buy that day one, and we both have PS4s, which means he won't even have to spend on it to play it.
Yep.
When I visit you guys someday, you are gonna just let me play that game for like 48 hours straight, right? I won't spend any time with you. I'll just play that game.
I'll be like, oh, Dan, you're finally going to come down and visit. How many days do you want to stay? 9.
He just shows up on release day. Hey, have you bought that game yet? You bought that Spider-Man game?
We'll hang out for 2, but I want to be there for 9. It's good rant, Dan. Well done. Lo, do you have a rant this evening?
No.
Eric, what is your rant this evening, sir?
I'm going to rant about the booster pack format for anything that's not trading cards. More frequently known as, or nowadays known as, screw them. I just want the things I want. I don't care about getting all of these stupid other things. I just want the things I want. And it makes a certain amount of sense in trading card games because there's a whole of that, and you're doing a bunch of different things. With all this stuff where it's like, yeah, these are $15 a pop. You get one thing, and there's 9 things. Hope you get the one you want.
Yeah.
It's
okay if it's $1, maybe.
Yeah. If it's $1, $1.99.
You should have 11
sure.
$15 blind bags.
Nope. I don't like it.
I hate them. Okay, so I collect Lord Zed. And I try to get everything Lord Zed there is. I'm the only person I know with a Lord
Custom piece.
I know that, but I get everything Lord Zed I can get my hands on, even if it's custom. And they have a blind bag set of figures for Power Rangers. And I'm gonna have to order it on eBay with somebody that's got one out because I'm not gonna buy those up till I find one. What is the point of that? Someone explain to me what the point of blind bag is, except just to. Who buy duplicates can sell them on eBay. What is the point of it?
I don't know. I just want the fun.
Yeah, I have this problem too, Eric. I was really distraught the other day. I went into a store and they had these really cool looking Zelda keychains, but they're blind bags. And I was like, I want the Link one, but I don't want to buy like 8 keychains. I only need 1. Ridiculous. They're putting everything in blind bags now. It's crazy.
I hate it.
And apparently people are buying them. Like,
I guess so.
It's doing well, and I don't understand that. How isn't everyone? I want to say this out of context. How is everyone not like me? No, how is it? How is it that people don't just go on eBay and buy the ones they want?
Why can't you be me? Why can't you be me?
Let's hear from Steve.
Eggs are too expensive. I'm not really angry about anything aside from that. Eggs cost like $5.
What about Ben Affleck's new movie?
Well, okay. Well, okay. It's more of a review than a rant, but Live by Night.
Are you guys striking? Are you guys striking on rants? Are you guys like, no more rants? We're not doing them.
I'm just not angry.
We're done with rants.
I just don't want to manufacture like anger for no reason. So if I don't have a rant, I'm not going to be like, what is something?
Have to be angry. Sometimes it's fun to just go, how is that a thing? Why is that? What?
Let the hate flow through you. Come on.
Why are
it's
eggs
not about being
$5?
angry. This channel is not about that. Honestly, I don't know why we do rants. We've just done it for a long time, and people like them, and we still do rants. And sometimes
rant about ranting. I hate ranting. It's terrible.
I hate you. After Logan tries to make me rant. Every time Lo says anything remotely negative, I want to write it down and be like, that's your rant.
I think we're interrupting Steve's rant, by the way.
See, but that's the thing. I would just be like, that's all I care about. I said what
Steve
I wanted
said
to
he
say.
wanted to review something. He doesn't even have a rant. He's just going to review something in the middle of rants.
Yeah, I don't
Go
have
ahead,
a rant.
Steve.
Just don't see Live by Night. It's not very good, and it depresses me. That's all.
Yeah, I was interested in that because it's Ben Affleck doing another Boston movie, and that's like I live
You
around
would
here.
think, right?
so-
You would think that would be amazing, and it's not.
Like movies set in Boston make absurd amounts of money here. Like Black Mass was sold out in every theater around here the night it came out, and it didn't make like a lot of money everywhere else. So I'm sure people around here.
Okay, well, if you all permit me, I'm gonna rant and talk for longer than
Do
that. So I was, so I had a thing I was going to rant
Logan.
about, and I even said, I hope someone gets that. I said last week what my rant this week was going to be. I'm going to table that rant for another week at least, because I want to complain about something that came up with Dan and I were talking earlier today when we were making a video. Dan, I'm not ranting about the fact that Dan doesn't know about this, but Dan somehow or rather missed
I thought you were going to
the
rant
fact-
about me.
Yeah, one of these days. No, that's the one I'm tabling. No, I'm kidding. I somehow or rather Dan missed the fact that there are VR helmets for phones now, and I was explaining this to Dan. He was like, "Oh, really? That's it? That was." I was like, "Yes, Dan, it is." And I don't know how in the world, even not television, I don't know how in the world you missed the stupid Samsung VR commercials that were just everywhere around Christmas. It was on Hulu. It was on YouTube in front of videos. It was at the movie theater. You remember that? It's these people. It's a bunch of different families sitting around the Christmas tree opening up Samsung VR. And what I want to rant about everywhere, but multiple VR commercials for different headsets that connect to your phone that you load apps for, and then you're in virtual reality, is the fact that none of those commercials ever show you what the virtual reality looks like. None of them. So it's so awkward. So you're just watching commercials of people with, I wish I brought mine down, people with a thing on their head. Oh, this is crazy! You gotta try this! And you have no idea what they're looking at or what they're doing. And I imagine it's probably like software rights issues where the companies that own the headsets don't actually own any of the software whatsoever. But surely they could make up something where you could like get in a first-person perspective or do like a picture-in-picture and just give us a sample of what they're looking at. There's this really weird one where the most awkward one is there's these kids on the street that are playing with one. And there's this elderly guy that walks up and he's got a thick accent and he's like, "Can I see?" And then he puts it on and then he's like, "Whoa, that's crazy." And then at the end he goes, "Look at the moon." And then he like pretends to grab the moon. He's like, "Whoosh." And I'm like, I wish I could see the moon. Then I would have a sense of what in the world you're doing and you're looking at. That is really, I don't know how that sells things. Like, to anyone that hasn't ever looked at virtual reality, how does that sell virtual reality to you?
Yeah, I think virtual reality has a large marketing problem. Like, I've heard people talk about this a lot with respect to the VR video games. Like, there's no way to really like convey is without actually putting the helmet on and trying it yourself. Like, you can't convey what it's like just looking at a video of it. Like, I've seen people
but at the very least,
sorry, go ahead.
at the very least, show footage.
Yeah.
Like, even though it doesn't fully tell you it, at least show footage. Don't just have people looking through headsets.
And apparently Captain Logan informed me that Google's like phone VR headset is literally a piece of cardboard.
Yeah, Google Cardboard. It's real popular. It's like
What is
$15.
this?
It is the cheapest
This
option.
is insanity.
Dan sounds like he's been in a cave. Does anybody else
Get off
agree
my
with that?
lawn, kids. Come on. This is
Okay,
insane.
Sounds like he's been in a
Well,
cave.
to be fair, I watch the movies with you, and I have Hulu, and I watch YouTube. I don't remember any of those VR commercials.
Well, they drive you. But you knew about Cardboard, right?
I know about
You've
Cardboard,
heard of Google Cardboard.
but I own Cardboard because a friend of mine told me about it and said, if that's the cheap version, I can't imagine what the real thing is like because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Before that, I didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, apparently this marketing is not working. Here's the thing. I'm still wondering if VR is going to be just a fad. It might not even be a fad. Apparently there are people that haven't even picked up on the fact that it's happening.
I just got around to
All
purchasing
right.
a Virtual Boy the other day, so I think I'm good.
Let's move on now, shall we? To geekiest thing you did this week. We'll go round robin, find out just real briefly what the geekiest thing each of us we think did this week, and then you guys in the comments watching live, feel free to write yours down, and I will mention a few of the cool ones right after we all go round robin. Lo, what was the geekiest thing you did this week?
It's sort of related to last week when I was talking about how we're like unpacking and getting everything all moved around while we get ready for baby. I reorganized my comics, and now instead of crammed into 2 short boxes with a bunch on top, they're in 4 short boxes, and they're organized by like Marvel, DC, and then like indies. So I was like, I'm very proud of it, and I think that might be the nerdiest thing or the geekiest thing is just the fact of like how proud I am of the fact that I did that.
Do you remember when you had 4 short boxes?
Actually, no.
You know what? I've only been at this for like a year.
I've been collecting comics for so long, I do not remember a time I only had 4 short boxes.
It's a lot.
It's always been at least 3 or 4 long boxes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm not belittling you.
For you. When I was a kid, I was only buying on the cheap at like flea markets and stuff, and they didn't cost $4 a piece.
I'm picking on him for his 9,000 long boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of long boxes. Yeah. Picking on me, everybody wishes 9,000 long boxes of comics. That's awesome. Pain in the face.
Percentage-wise, how many of those have you read?
Of the 9,000
boxes.
I didn't have that many comics. I think I have like somewhere between 6,500 and 7 comics, not long boxes. Probably 5. It's probably I probably read a 5th, maybe a 4th, maybe a 4th of my. I own a lot of books I've never read. All that X-Men. I've got 500, 600, 700 issues of X-Men I haven't read. Anyway, that's a good one, Lo. Well done. Thing.
So I brought props for my geekiest thing.
Ooh, props for bringing props.
So at work, I need. Oh no, there goes my headphones. So at work, I need keys. I don't have a car, so I don't have keys.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't mention these earlier. I almost did.
So these stupid blind bags of keychains, and I just need a keychain to put my keys on. And we have these stupid Marvel blind bags, and I really wanted a Baron Zemo one. But I can't just have a Baron Zemo one. I have to buy blind bags.
Do you have the same?
So I bought 3. I got a Doctor Strange, a Peggy card, and a it all ties together. It's all connected. And a Maria Hill. None of which do I want as keychains. And then a buddy of mine at work bought one for me that turned out to be Jessica Jones, which I wanted in Baron Zemo, but of all of them, she's the one I'll have on my. So, yeah, that's the geekiest thing. I'm not a collector. I don't buy toy things. I broke down and I bought 3 of these stupid things. And I didn't even get a Baron Zemo. It's a rant and a geekiest thing all rolled up together.
Steve, what was your geekiest thing? And while you're, I apologize for not listening to yours, but while you're doing your geekiest thing, I have to run off because I was supposed to have a prop for mine too, and it's not here. So anyway, I'll be right back.
So as people may or may not know, I really like Bruce Lee. I love Bruce Lee movies. I grew up on Bruce Lee movies. My best friend is a massive
there's only like
Bruce
4
Lee
movies.
expert. Huh?
I said it's really easy when there's only like 4 movies.
That's very true. Well, and Game of Death, but that's kind of not counting. Anyway, but I've been really getting into more Bruce Lee stuff lately. And just recently, over this last week, I've read like 3 or 4 different books about Bruce Lee's philosophy in different journals and stuff.
Ooh.
So that's been a lot of fun. He has some of the most interesting action scene philosophy I have ever read. It's so good.
He has some of the best just quotes. Like, he's a really interesting guy.
Well, what's cool is that like he took philosophy in college and he has a degree in it, and everything he does embodies in some way what his like literal written philosophy is. And he's got like all of these fantastic critiques of like regular Western philosophers, and he puts them to shame. It's hysterical, and I love it. Yeah, he's awesome. I'm trying to work on something Bruce Lee related, but that's mostly just because I've been reading his journals and they're so good.
That's the thing I didn't know.
That Bruce Lee was a philosopher?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yep, he is a philosopher. He's a very good
I didn't
philosopher.
know he went to school for it. I knew he just said a lot of like really wise, insightful things.
Yeah, he had a whole thing where like he was a very victory-oriented, angry teenager. And then when he went to college, he decided to go after philosophy to answer his questions of why does he always want victory? What does glory mean? What constitutes a glorious victory and stuff like that? And all of that later informed his own martial arts style and his more like written philosophical texts.
Dan, what is the geekiest thing you did this week, sir?
Well, I have been kind of sick this week. I'm better now, but during the time during the time where I was in bed, like doing nothing, I watched the original trilogy over again, and I had a lot of the songs stuck in my head because I love the John Williams score for those movies. So literally every time I had the opportunity to listen to music and to do something, like I would play the soundtrack to the Star Wars thing. So I drove to work with the TIE Fighter theme blasting in my car because I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I feel like I'm in an X-Wing. And then I would like work out to like the all the other songs and stuff. So anytime I was listening to music, I just had all that stuff stuck in my head because I love that stuff. The music's so good from those movies. So many good melodies and stuff.
Many of them in my head right now.
You should throw some Indiana Jones in there too, just to mix it up.
I should. I should just put all of the.
Oh wait, that's not.
If it's a John Williams thing, it can count. Sure, why not?
Oh, good.
John.
That's cool. Just to me now. Geekiest thing I did this week was I bought this book. This is the Super NES book. I had to get this on cover alone. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. This is my retro gamer, which is the thing I'm wanting to get into now after looking at this because I just love the layouts. There's a lot of really cool articles and a lot of really extensive things, and I'm learning things I didn't know about a lot of old Super Nintendo games. I already had decided I was going to get this. I was like, I'm getting this. I don't care how much it costs. I was at a bookstore. I was like, this is amazing. Flipped it over to find out the price of it. It's a Super Nintendo book and a Sega Genesis book. It's a flip book. That's just the coolest thing. That is the geekiest thing I did this week. Was I bought this book and I just lost it at a bookstore, and I'm sure near me. That was pretty darn geeky. Anyway, other things that other people thought were geeky.
I really appreciate the fact that it's Sega too, because I did not grow up on Nintendo systems. I grew up on Sega systems, and like everybody has Nintendo stuff everywhere, but like you can't get like retro Sega. I don't know, like merch, and I don't know. People just don't talk about it as much, so that makes me really happy.
That's kind of just Sonic.
Yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like pretty book. Lo, next time I see you, I'll show you this book.
Sega recently announced that they were going to try to make a bunch of their old Genesis games into movies, like Altered Beast and Golden Axe and stuff. It will probably never happen because
that sounds like a really bad idea.
Much like the Extreme Studios thing, which none of those will be movies.
Yeah, but it would be even funnier if it was also supposed to be a shared universe. So you have a universe that has Altered Beast, and it has it has like the characters from that riding on jet skis from Hydro Thunder, and then they fall into a dream state and they get taken over by Nights into Dreams, and I could just go on and on. That would be fantastic. And then like some of them become fighting champions in Virtua Fighter, and then there's at least one character there that's a Virtua. And I don't know.
If any of those properties besides Sonic beat any of Nintendo's properties to the movie theater, I'm going to be a very sad person.
Well,
you can make a Virtual Fighter movie.
Well,
I'm telling you.
Well, and the thing is, some of those are so kind of story like you can just make a cool fantasy movie. Like there's a couple of things like that. You can't do that with Zelda. You can't do that with Mario. There's some stuff there that is light enough, I think, to adapt it into almost anything and do it well.
What is the story of Altered Beast?
There are beasts and they get altered.
There you go.
So much of
gold.
So much of Sega's properties too were like really into the technology of the time, or trying cyberpunkish, and all about
Sega was
like tech stuff. So whatever, with most of that stuff, you wouldn't be able to get away with it not feeling super 90s and like that period edgy. Like imagine Vector Man, the movie.
They should make a blast processing movie. That'd be amazing.
Yes.
You know, it would be really weird going to a movie theater before I go.
They'd all be techno thrillers, is what I'm saying.
Before I go to a movie and see the like Nintendo logo like Marvel has, to go to a movie and just have Sega.
Yes.
Like in front of a movie.
Did you guys hear that?
They would be really stupid if they did not open that movie like that.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you guys hear that Seth Rogen bought the rights to that Console Wars book to make it to a movie that's like about the battle between the Super Nintendo and the Genesis? That's a really cool thing that might happen.
I'm still waiting for the Masterpiece to come out. That was supposed to come out in 2016, and I haven't even seen a trailer.
What is the
Masterpiece? Is the movie that is based on the book that's about the production of The Room.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the Console Wars book, Dan, I have that. I've read most of it, and on the cover, yes and no. It's a thing I want to do at some point, and I didn't get around to finishing it because I started reading other things. Anyway, I'll review it at some point. I have some issues with the dramatized nature of it. But anyway, so bought it like a year and a half ago. On the cover, it says this is going to be a movie. And that book's been out for a while, and has had that on the cover. I don't know when that's actually going to
Marvel the Untold
finally be
Story
developed,
so
but yeah,
I really want Marvel the Untold Story as a film.
Be cool. That book, now that I've read it or read most of it, actually makes more sense as a movie, which is really strange because it should just be a biography, but it's not. Like it's most of it is told in scene, like fiction. And that's really problematic because they give everybody dialogue, and how do I know how much of this is even remotely close to what actually happened? You don't do that in book form. What's that?
Do they give Miyamoto dialogue?
Yes. Miyamoto has dialogue, and I mean everybody has dialogue. Yeah, it's weird, and some of it's really cheesy, and I don't know. It is a strange thing. Okay, I was gonna read some more. Well, I'll read some of these real quick. Super cool G-Man played Beyond Two Souls and said he liked it. That was a geeky thing he said he did. Super nerd, geekiest thing I did was I read Chuck Dixon's Robin Batgirl Gear 1.
Those are great.
Those are great, yeah.
I've got the Batgirl one that Cap started reading it at some point.
I started reading it, and then I didn't get back to it. I should probably do that.
I've not read it.
Stuff Cap read has not finished.
And I want to read the Robin one.
The Robin one is my favorite of the two, but they're both really good.
It's really good.
Nathan Snyder read an entire omnibus of Deadpool by Poseidon Dugan. A lot of people reading comics. Geekiest thing I did
Someone
was
played
practice...
KOTOR 1 and 2 for the 4th time? Yes, sir. Good. Those games are great.
Andrew Follett, geekiest thing I did this week was practice Metal Gear Solid impressions.
Oh, that's awesome!
Impressions.
That would be the most melodramatic impression of all time. That's awesome.
Steak!
There's some more ones. So let's go ahead now and finally get to the open forum for the next 15 minutes or so. We're going to talk about whatever you folks would like us to talk about if you're watching live. Any geeky news that you know about that's coming out this week, anything like that you really want us to talk about, or just other topics that might be cool things. Dan, are you providing music, or are you pretending like I'm singing right? I can't decide.
I'm sorry. I'm listening to music while you're talking.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, anything you want us to talk about, feel free to leave things in the comments. Topics that we would not want to do an entire GNN on. And Steve has left. Steve apparently does not want to be in the open.
He was all the way in the side.
I'm just laughing.
I thought he left.
I'm not using my camera space well, that's all.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Well, when I posted things, there's a thing about Gasod.
I was doing it on purpose.
That I don't know if you know about, but I think you would think it's funny. The third game is a prequel, and there are characters in that game that exist in 1 and 2. If you kill one of them, the game ends and just goes time paradox.
Awesome.
Nero Cole just says counted crypto freaks with a question mark. It's not a question. No, I just put one up a couple days ago, and I'll be working on another one hopefully real soon. As I said in that video I posted a few weeks ago, I am working on things whenever I have time to work on things. I prioritize things in my house. I am a stay-at-home dad for anybody that doesn't know that, and that's this is my job, but that's also my job. I told my wife earlier today that I sometimes feel like I have kind of a double life. You know, kind of like a lot of superheroes. You know, trying to figure out how to mix all those things together and try to keep track of one while I'm keeping track of the other. That's not always the easiest thing to do. Anna May 7 wants to know what our most anticipated films of 2017 are. Things we are most excited about. Anybody, throw stuff out.
I mean, there's the obvious things like Star
Spider-Man.
Wars and Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I'm not sure if there's anything this year that I'm like super hyped for.
Really?
I mean, like I'm excited
Logan.
for Logan looks Logan looks really good.
Logan-
Logan looks really good. The Spider-Man looks good. I'm excited for a trailer for Star Wars. I don't know if I have anything where I'm like, that's the movie. Like in 2016 I had Nice Guys. Like I was really waiting for Nice Guys, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I have anything like that this year.
Yeah, I haven't really had time to look at the slate of like what directors that I like that don't do like big blockbuster movies that are coming out with things. I am excited to see Christopher Nolan's movie Dunkirk, the war movie he's making. That movie looks like it could be really interesting.
Yeah.
The exact reaction.
I love what Eric said about this.
The exact reaction of the film, and I turned to Cap in the theater and I said this, and I said, that looks like a really good movie that I'm not going to see.
The two big things for me are War for the Planet of the Apes and
Oh yeah, that movie looks fantastic.
yeah, War for the Planet of the Apes is easily the most excited I am for a movie this year, and then the year after that is
Yes!
right now it's that.
Are you guys
Other
excited?
than
Oh, sorry, Logan, go ahead.
War for the
No,
Planet
no.
of the Apes, what was this?
What's the other one? What's the other one, Steve?
Kingsman.
Oh
Is that
yeah,
this year?
yeah. No, I'm super excited for that. No,
I've
That's
not
it.
been paying
That's mine.
attention.
I'm taking it.
Someone in the comments said John Wick 2. That's all I wanted to say. Is anyone excited about
Oh,
that?
yeah,
I
I'm
didn't see the
excited
first
for
one,
It's
so
just
I don't
gonna
know.
be
I don't
This should be a
want
crazy
John
year.
Wick 2. That first movie I think is pretty near perfect, and he should have died at the end, and he doesn't, and there should not be a sequel.
You agree with me?
He should have
Steve
died.
agrees with me.
The ending of that movie should have been he looks at that video, then collapses and dies. That should have been the ending of that movie. Otherwise,
Oh.
it's perfect aside from that.
Thank you guys in the comments. Lego Batman movie. I'm losing my mind over Lego Batman movie. I can't wait. That's
That looks
next
so
month.
good.
It's gonna be such a big deal for
Thor
me.
Ragnarok, I'm really looking
Um,
forward to cautiously because it's a team up between three of my favorite Marvel
It
characters,
sucks.
Thor, Hulk, and Doctor Strange in the same movie. Like, come on, that sounds amazing.
And
I hope
Carl
it's good.
Urban, your fourth
Yeah,
favorite
he's gonna
Marvel
be
character.
executioner. He's gonna be great. And they got Blanchett to play Hela, which is awesome too.
And they got
Oh, yeah.
they got Jeff Goldblum to play the Collector.
Yes.
The Grandmaster.
That's
Jeff
Yeah.
Goldblum's Grandmaster.
That's nuts.
I hope he just plays Jeff Goldblum. It would be amazing.
I'm
When I saw Independence Day last year, it's, oh man, Jeff Goldblum's still got a couple of blockbusters in him. I hope he does a couple more blockbusters, and he is. He's at least doing one like it.
I'm sorry, Lo, go ahead.
I'm very excited. Other than like a bunch of the bigger ones that we're sort of already talking about, is The Dark Tower, based
Yeah.
on the Stephen King novels.
Next year.
No, that's this year.
Well, that's what I meant. Sorry, I'm still in 2016.
It's already
Okay.
next year.
Is that this year?
Yeah. I don't think it has like an official. Oh, July is what it's saying on IMDb.
I'm real tentative on that.
And
I want
Idris
that
Elba is
trailer.
in it, and I'm very excited. And
Did you read the books?
it's been a long time,
Okay, cool.
but yeah, I've read them.
And there's a sequel to the books, which is interesting.
I've been hearing like conflicting things about like that they're sort of a sequel, but they're also just kind of establishing their own like status quo, or like, you know what I mean? Like they're drawing stuff from the books.
Do that.
But I guess I'm more intrigued than like, because we don't know a ton yet. Like there haven't been any promotional materials released, so.
Well, and my biggest complaint with that film in its marketing is that they keep releasing like set photos that just look like people on set. The first picture I should have seen of Idris Elba in costume is him with the wind whipping his coat. Don't have that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The picture that they have up on IMDb isn't even that good because he's not wearing the long coat. So, but he's like walking and he looks
and the picture came out of Matthew McConaughey as the Man in Black, and I was like, oh man, he's perfect casting. I can't wait. And it just looks like him hanging out in the black. Like, sure, it's gonna make this movie look like what it's supposed to look like.
But no, I'm very excited for that just because I
didn't realize you heard it.
Yeah,
I've been waiting for that movie
reread the
for
books.
like a decade.
Yeah. Well, because it's been in like, not even like promotional hell, just like they kind of keep saying that they're going to do a movie and then just nothing happens.
Well, and it keeps changing hands. For a while,
Yeah.
Dan Lindelof had it. He bought it for $19 from Stephen King. He bought the rights.
$19.
And
Really?
yeah,
$19?
$19. It makes sense if you read the books.
Okay.
It's a whole
So
thing.
not the way. So you don't mean that the way I mean when I say something like $19. You're not exaggerating.
No, literally $19.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no. Damon Lindelof bought it for $19 because Stephen King was a fan of Lost. Then it went to Ron Howard, and now it's here. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy. So it's not like when I say like Steve does this show for 3.5 cents, right? It's not like
No. Literally
Okay.
exactly $19.
He does do this show for 3.5 cents. I don't know what he does with his half cents, but okay, superhero fan show. Let's see if we can knock out 2 or 3 more before we got to get going. A lot of tubers occasionally talk about having some theater experience. So I'm curious, do either of you, well, there's like 5 of us, but do either of you Geekvolution members have any performance history as an acting major? I'd love to know. I have a little bit. I did some stage in high school, and I directed some plays. And Lo, I'm sure, has some.
Oh yeah, I've got tons. For those of you that don't know, I'm a professional dancer, although honestly for the last year or so I've done basically nothing because I've been busy with work and then busy with pregnancy. But yeah, I'm mostly a hip hop and jazz dancer, and because of that I've done a lot of core work, or like the background people in like musicals and plays since I was like 3 or 4, and I started doing ballet and did like the Nutcracker at that age, like all the way up to high school and beyond. So yeah, I have a lot of singing, acting, and dancing stuff.
To high school and beyond. Steve or Dan, do either of you guys have performance experience?
I'm an uncultured swine.
Sorry, Steve, go ahead. Are you also cultured swine?
No, I directed a production of No Exit, which is a play by Jean-Paul Sartre, but that's about it.
That's awesome, though.
I've never acted, but I believe I could.
That's great. Nobody. I was going, and then I didn't, and then I should have gotten committed. That's a joke about Rasco. He's not here to defend himself. Should I tell that story or just move on? Okay, so talking to Rasco, and some of the Patreon subscribers know about this already. We did this on a Patreon video. I was talking to Rasco, and I made up a list on the spot of questions to ask Rasco, because I feel like Rasco doesn't talk about himself enough, and I was curious about some things about him. And one of them is, and this sounds like such a typical thing to ask, but you look at Rasco, the first thing I thought of when I looked at Rasco was, that's a skater kid. So first thing I wanted to know if he skates, and he was like, well, I a little, but he doesn't like to do like tricks and things like I might have expected. And then I said, or maybe this was earlier, do you know how to cook? And he says, I thought about this a lot. As I haven't cooked, but I'm pretty sure I could. That was his response. He was just really confident about his cooking skills. He has no experience. It was the best. Eric and I laugh about that all the time. Anytime something like that comes up, I don't. But I've thought about it a lot, and I'm pretty sure I did. Let me look up some more questions here, because there's all kinds of stuff in the comments, and we'll try to answer.
Do we want to talk about the Maxim Studios thing? Because I don't think we've talked about it anywhere. So if anybody doesn't know, Rob Liefeld licensed out a bunch of his characters.
I thought we talked about that here.
Did we? Did we talk about this?
I mean, you can bring it up for a second if you want to, but I thought we talked about this already.
I didn't think we did. I thought we only talked.
No, that's cool.
I thought it should get talked about.
Yeah, that's fine. Somebody asked about it earlier, so it's not like it wasn't in there. But
okay.
I thought we talked about it a couple.
No, I think
ago.
we've just had long conversations.
I'm positive we were on camera, and I know we sit here when we talk a lot, so even if there's not a camera on, it feels like it. Go ahead.
So Rob Liefeld sold a bunch of his characters to some movie studio. Legendary. He sold it to some movie studio, and he's just laughing all the way to the bank. Rob Liefeld has no characters that are worth adapting, and he's only getting this because of Deadpool. Which that's part of my problem with why Deadpool made a big deal about Rob Liefeld, who has basically nothing to do with the creation of that character. But because of Deadpool, everyone's like, well, everything this man must touch must be gold. And it's not even the ones you've heard of.
Oh, you didn't talk about this part. No,
it's not like Youngblood or or Chapel or Prophet or Chapel's part of Youngblood, or even Glory which is kind of his Wonder Woman. It's none of those characters. It's all these books. The biggest deal of all of these books is Brigade, which is the only one I've heard of. One of them is the most 90s, or Cap says is the single most 90s name for anything ever, which is
even more so than Negative Warhead. Here we go.
Which was created in the 2000s. But so he sold all these characters that no one about.
You can't have a character with the word nitro at the beginning of it and not make it a 90s period piece. If you don't do that, you're doing it wrong.
But so he sold the rights to it's hilarious because it says like 7 books and literally hundreds of characters. And if you know anything about Rob Liefeld, he doesn't make comic books. Like all of those books maybe ran 6 issues. Hundreds of characters in 6 issues of like 8 series.
And he called them characters that permeate and that generations have enjoyed and loved.
Yep.
He's talking about, or who these people.
Well, I know what movies I won't be seeing.
But if you're a bit, oh no, I will go because I have to. Know. If we have a giant fan of Nitrogen in the comments, please let me know.
And you should read the list because you would swear someone like was parodying 90s comics. Like there's like Bloodwing and like Bloodstrife.
Let's go ahead and look this nonsense up. Yeah,
Stabby McGee, like
Stabby McGee.
No, that's under
their day one. Oh yeah, you told me about that too. Okay, so Rob.
So Cap's gonna look up the Rob Liefeld characters that or books that were sold.
Shared universe.
Oh, and it's a shared universe, of course.
Of course it is.
To adapt over 100 characters, says Collider. You know, it'd be great if they ranked the top 100 characters that are supposedly in Rob Liefeld's. And these are just the most generic looking. Brigade, you mentioned. Oh yeah, this isn't even a list. Okay, let's ask another question, and then I'll look into the. We'll do one more real quick. Let's see here. We mentioned the Goyer writing Green Lantern thing. Green Lantern Corps is supposed to be happening. Goyer writing it, and it's being pitched as the lethal weapon in space.
Ooh, that's literally what I said the first. Green Lantern should have been.
That's what I wanted, but I'm trepidatious about Goyer.
It should have been a cop movie where Abin Sur is killed at the beginning of the film, and it's a murder mystery where Hal Jordan and Sinestro being like the old wizened cop, is training the new rookie, and they're investigating the murder of Abin Sur. That's what Green Lantern should have been. So that's exciting. I was expecting like 7 in space, given the tone of the DC universe.
I want that scene where the old guy has a really old, outdated ring.
That's incredible.
I want the scene where the old cop has the really old, outdated ring, and then the new one's like, no, this is the real ring. This is where it's at now. I want the.
Does anyone else have opinions on
space now? That's incredible.
They're calling this the Extreme Universe.
Of course they are. Studios, and then when that got taken away from him because he made dumb legal decisions, he had Maximum Studios.
Rob,
is there a one called like Blood Pouch or something?
Pouch?
Blood, because Rob Liefeld does pouches on
everything.
It should. I want that to be I said this there. I want every one of those movies to be every scene you never see hands or feet. We always shoot close up enough that the hands and feet are always totally off screen.
That would be incredible.
It can't be done.
I
can't find a list of these characters.
I don't have my phone. I can't.
What I think they should do is CGI the hands and feet so they just look like really terrible at all times on every character.
It's not like they should shoot like fisheye lens so that the anatomy's off.
The central, this from Hollywood Reporter, the central extreme concept is Youngblood, which is not part of this particular film. It's been in development hell for some time. That first title led to the introduction of a number of different titles, blah, 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 blah. Most likely to include rights to Bloodstrike Brigade, Lethal, Gex, RE:Gex, and nothing though. I love that. Gex the Gex. Cybrid, Battlestone, Nitrogen, and boom!
All coming to your theaters. You know, Youngblood is Brett Ratner bought the rights to Youngblood years ago and said it was the last great comic book saga that has yet to be adapted. Which explains a lot about X-Men.
And this article just lists all the other characters that somebody's actually heard of that aren't part of this deal. And Glory and Prophet and the New Men. I've heard of the New Men.
And we should mention, Prophet and Supreme are only famous or are only like known because Alan Moore comes on to Supreme and does like a big run for man on it. And Prophet is currently going as a real bizarre, like kind of out there sci-fi thing. Like
I heard that when they rebooted Glory a few years ago that it was decent.
Yeah. I heard that about that whole line. But the other thing I heard was that it had nothing to do with the Rob Liefeld kids. What Prophet has from Liefeld's character of Prophet is that Prophet lives like forever. And so it's like 1,000 years later, it's whatever it wants to be.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, interesting.
Those movies will not get made.
I don't know, man.
That's not going to happen. I gotta do too. Cybrid. Yeah, it's a hybrid of a cyborg and something else.
Cybrid and
Cybrid. Sorry, what, Dan?
Whatever the blood one was.
And he has crazy sideburns because that sounds like sideburn. Cybrid.
Oh, they have Wolverine hair. Because 80% of Liefeld characters have Wolverine hair.
Yeah, or mullets. There should be at least one mullet in those. I'm telling you, they have to take place in the 90s. He's doing it wrong if they don't or if it's not like a 90s.
Because the problem is, this isn't material that you could even do that ground up.
It's not material. A lot of these things probably had 6 issues that are not like.
But the problem is, this isn't stuff you can reinvent from the ground up and still sell it. You're stuck with these names.
It's like this sounds like making the Genesis movies, or except worse. Ooh, and people have.
Yep.
Anyway, well, everybody, thanks as always for watching. We sure appreciate it. That's going to be it for us this evening. We want to thank Steve Baxi for making a cameo this evening. And
he had a rant and a Geekiest thing and everything.
Yeah,
that's more than a cameo.
Yeah, he nearly skimped out on the rant, so that doesn't count. And it counts.
He was in this video more than.
It counts fine because she was here the whole time, didn't drop out, and said she had a good rant that she wished she had thought of in the comments and didn't actually say it. So anyway, you could table that for next time. Well,
yeah.
Steve Baxi in this video more than Agent 13 was in Civil War.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. Anyway, thanks, Steve. This has been Dan Torrey.
Good night, everybody.
The Curious Love.
Bye. Thanks for being here.
Brown Coat Eric.
Bye.
And I am Captain Logan saying good night.
Say goodbye, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's how you do it. Mm-hmm. and I, Captain Logan, saying good night.